What it do, cucksters? It's your boy, the hater, and it's time for yet another video. The reality of the situation is as follows. We've got a lot of people in this company, the WWE, as well as AEW, who for one reason or another are what we call part-timers. I am sick of the concept of part-timers. Part-timers, obviously at this juncture, are people that pretty much keep this company afloat. John Cena is a part-timer. Now, here's the difference. John Cena effectively left the WWE like 8 years ago, right? He just shows up once in a while, and he's not presented as someone who is part of the greater WWE narrative, right? For example, when there's a draft, nobody drafts John Cena. He's just John Cena, you know what I mean? Nobody drafts The Undertaker, player, although he might show up to say hello to Rhea Ripley at some point, Nobody drafts these people. They are considered people that are not effectively affiliated with the company. Much like no one's going to draft Jelly Roll, but he's still going to show up. I don't have much of a problem with that kind of part-timer, right? The person that's done what they need to do, and now they're doing other things with their bullshit life. Now, that's one thing. Then we've got the Roman Reigns type of part-timers, right? Because at the end of the day, I'm not here to judge people's lives. I kind of am because I'm the fucking hater, but you know what I mean, right? John Cena, I turn on TV, I see some Kia commercial, and Cena's like, buy the new Kia all-wheel drive. Like, shut the fuck up. I know who you are, John Cena. But anyways, same thing with a lot of these other people. Obviously, Jelly Roll, Travis Scott, they have successful careers in different industries. Logan Paul has a successful podcast. But what about Roman Reigns? You know what I mean? What does Roman Reigns do, right? I keep hearing for the last 8 years, oh, this guy's going to transition to Hollywood. What? What kind of nonsense is this, He's going to transition to B-level movies at best. Roman Reigns is not going to be this great actor. Now, I could be wrong. I have been wrong in the past, but I don't think he's going to be a great actor, but maybe he will be, you know what I mean? I hope he is, to be honest. I don't have anything against the kid. But quite frankly, it's he's 40, which is a normal time to be an actor, right? He's still young enough where he can play action roles, but I don't think it's young enough to start an acting career, to be introduced as oh, this is the new guy, right? Batista has had, by all measures, a successful WWE career, obviously, and he's had, and is currently having, a very successful acting career. In my opinion, he's the best actor out of all of the wrestlers turned actors, in terms of the fact that he can actually act. But the problem is, Batista's 60 years old? He's old, you know what I mean? And nothing against him. People get old, 56 years old, but he looks like he's 68. It doesn't matter. The point is, Batista is old. He can no longer feasibly play a lot of these action roles, There comes a point where it's all right, bro, you're getting old now, And if we need an old man, we got Liam Neeson, you know what I mean? We don't need to get you to do that, right? In other words, Batista and people like Roman Reigns and these part-timers get their benefits from their appearance, right? And when you get old, it's you're not as marketable anymore as a badass, right? Look at The Rock, same thing, right? When was the last time The Rock made a movie? It was not that the Ryan Reynolds movie that nobody watched, But anyways, the point is, if you have something to do with your life, hey, I get it, man. You want to come in and get a quick paycheck from WWE. If you're Trish Stratus and you have a yoga studio, go ahead. But what does Roman Reigns do? Roman Reigns is primarily a WWE superstar. This alleged Hollywood career that he hasn't started yet is not starting, It's not like he's out there doing 100 movies like The Rock was. The Rock left WWE. He did The Scorpion King, right? And he was one of the highest paid actors. I think until Conor McGregor recently, The Rock was the highest paid first movie actor, When it was his first movie, he got the highest pay of anyone for their first movie, And quite frankly, it wasn't anything that special. The Mummy 1 and The Mummy 2 shit all over it. Those are great movies. But anyways, the point is, he was doing other things. He left to pursue other things. Cena, I turn on TV, like I said, I hear a Kia commercial, there he is. I turn on TV, it's Wipeout, new season, Cena and Sherry Shepherd or something. Cena is out there doing other things. So it's understandable that he's busy, that he doesn't have the time to be WWE full-time. Even look at Jericho in AEW, right? Jericho is in a part-time status in many ways, and he has been for the last 10, 15 years, right? He's a part-timer. He was full-time in the beginning of AEW, but effectively he's a part-timer. But he would do it differently, right? He would leave the WWE, and then he'd sign another contract. He would leave, tour with Fozzy, and come back and sign another contract, and then put in 5-6 months of work. So he's a part-timer in a sense, he's not there at every given time of the year, But he would come in and he would wrestle on Friday Night SmackDown. He wrestled on Raw and so forth, right? And this idea that Roman Reigns is a bigger star than Jericho is obviously absurd. He's not a bigger star than Jericho. He's absolutely not. Oh, people in India know him. Nobody gives a shit. You know what I'm saying? Nobody cares about who knows what in India. No disrespect towards India, but this is an American company, and these people are not trying to be stars in India. Roman Reigns doesn't care that he's a star in India. Roman Reigns wants to be a star in America so he can make millions of dollars. You see what I'm saying? So that's how it is, and that's how it's going to be. Now, Roman Reigns apparently got a role in the new Street Fighter movie playing like Akuma, I think. Which, whatever, not a horrible casting, but quite frankly, Akuma's not going to be the main guy in that movie, right? And also all the other actors except for Jason Momoa are like, they're all like complete nobodies, you know what I mean? It's like, it's these people I've never heard of. They're like, oh, can you believe that like Sotero Sotomayor or whatever is playing Vega? I'm like, who the fuck is that guy? Nobody knows who he is, Just like, I don't know if anybody watched the Mortal Kombat trailer today, the Johnny Cage trailer. It's like the guy playing Johnny Cage is in his 50s. What the hell is this? This is absurd. Johnny Cage is not an old man in the events of Mortal Kombat. He's like a young guy in his prime. He's like in his late 20s, early 30s. Now the actor is like, he looks like fucking David Hasselhoff. I couldn't believe it. I'm like, who thought this was a good idea? They should have gotten The Miz to do it because The Miz at least like, he looks the part. He's jacked and he's young, and he's kind of like a Johnny Cage type of guy. Neither here or there, right? The Miz has been doing movies, and he's been full-time. The Miz does media appearances, and he's been full-time during the times when they need him. You know what I mean? But Roman Reigns, they sure as shit need him. You saw the pop he got. He is still primarily a wrestler. He has not began, even, in my opinion, his transition outside of wrestling. In other words, like he wrestles 3 times a year, but doesn't do anything else for the rest of the year. How is this acceptable? If you're the WWE, you should be like, yo, here's your new contract. It's going to be 30% less than your last one, and we're going to need you to wrestle every week because you haven't really brought in anything. Now, I know he brings in the sales because he is Roman Reigns, and that counts for something. He can use that to leverage, right? But that can just go off the sales. You can just be like, all right, you still keep like whatever percentage you make of sales, but your base pay is going to go down, and we're going to need you to show up more so you can sell more. That's the logic, motherfucks. But the reality is that people get away with this shit, AEW has only made things worse. AEW just signs people and pays them to do nothing. Like I was watching a snippet of the interview with Chris Van Vliet and Saraya, whatever, right? Paige, motherfuckers. It's just straight up Paige. And she was like, I left AEW because there was nothing more to do there. And I'm like, you didn't do anything there. You accomplished fucking nothing. You know what I mean? You did nothing in this company. She acts like she came there, had like a John Cena run, and now it's time to go. She came there, did nothing. You know what I mean? And she's talking like she's Edge. Remember when Edge said like, oh, I had to leave because like I wrestled everybody there is to wrestle 1,000 times. I've done everything there is to do in WWE. So now I'm going to go do it in AEW. That makes sense. It's like you spent your entire career there. You're a legend. Like Saraya is a jobber. She's like she's someone that like she doesn't have the skills to back it up or anything. She's just someone that's been riding, like, I don't know what she's riding, you know what I mean? But like she's just been making money for no reason. And AEW is full of these motherfuckers, right? As I make this video, I'm gonna take this opportunity to just Google Ruby Soho. Remember Ruby Soho? Wasn't she supposed to like, change the game? Right? Let's see here. She is signed to All Elite Wrestling, where she hasn't wrestled in 15 years probably. I mean, to be honest, I haven't watched it in a while. I think I'm gonna start watching now. Oh, it looks like she gave birth to a daughter last year. So like, obviously she hasn't been wrestling during that time. So there you have it. I mean, like nothing wrong with that. I'm happy for her and Angela Parker, who apparently she's married to. But quite frankly, the reality is what the reality is. And the reality is that these people are getting paid for absolutely no reason. Angela Parker and Matt Menard are also signed to All Elite Wrestling. It's like everyone is signed to all Elite Wrestling. Like the Big Show. Is the Big Show still there? If the Big Show is still there, I'm going to fucking lose my mind. Like, as far as I know, he doesn't do shit. Paul White, motherfucks. He is signed to all Elite Wrestling. AEW is even worse. They sign people and they just leave them there. Like Paige was like, oh, it feels good to get a paycheck for doing nothing, but that's kind of fucked up. And it's like, why is that fucked up? You've been doing that your whole career. You've been getting a paycheck for doing nothing for your whole career. The point is, motherfucks, this like inmates run the asylum thing, which has gotten out of hand with Tony Khan, and quite frankly, it's going to get out of hand with Triple H, right? Because at the end of the day, I hate to say it, at some level, wrestlers are alpha males. Not all of them. Sami Zayn, Jey Uso, Jacob Fatu. These are people that you could bully. You can tell them like you're going to get 50,000 and you're lucky to get that. But people like Roman Reigns, John Cena, The Undertaker, people like that, like people like I don't know, Bobby Lashley. That's probably why he left. He's not gonna like sit there and like take a pay cut or not get a pay increase, right? There's people that are alpha males, and in order to have a company where you have to deal with alpha males, you need the ultimate alpha male of our species, right? Like for example, Brock Lesnar. Like if Brock Lesnar says to Triple H, "I'm gonna do whatever the fuck I want," Triple H doesn't have the balls to say anything to Brock Lesnar, right? He knows that he doesn't have the respect of anybody in the industry, Triple H that is, right? But Vince McMahon will tell him, "You're gonna do this." Vince McMahon is the ultimate alpha male, Nobody is more of an alpha than Vince McMahon. Like, nobody's talking over Vince, motherfuckers. So that's what you need. And if you don't have that, you get these situations where people legitimately wrestle 3 times a year. Like, The Undertaker wrestled once a year. And Roman Reigns is not The Undertaker, motherfuckers. So these part-timers need to go. And as a matter of fact, I will be honest, even when The Undertaker was doing his once-a-year thing, like, aside from the fact that it was framed as like a WrestleMania moment waiting to happen, and this would automatically ensure one interesting WrestleMania match, and it would automatically ensure some sort of push for the guy that's wrestling The Undertaker because he has to be made to look strong. Like beyond that, that's pretty much it. Like I didn't really like The Undertaker doing that. I liked his last run where he was World Heavyweight Champion, right? Where he like wrestled Batista and won the World Heavyweight title. This like back in the day. This was great. Like it was a last run. It wasn't anything special. Right, in that sense, but it was The Undertaker, and that just feels good, right? It feels good to see The Undertaker. Nowadays, it feels good for people to see Roman Reigns, no doubt about it. But the problem is, you see him once a year, and he's not like 1,000 years old. He's only 40. And again, if he were someone that's trying to start another career, and he had like 1 foot out the door, sure, like if I turn on the TV and I see a Ford commercial and it's Roman Reigns saying, this is the new Ford Focus. Right? Acknowledge it, which would be pretty cool, actually. I'd be like, all right, I get it, man. This guy's trying his hand at other things. But he's not doing anything else. He's just there. Like, he's just like at home, grabbing his balls, thinking about how he one day might be a superstar, like in Hollywood, right? For like 6 years, we've been hearing Roman Reigns is going to like leave WWE for Hollywood. As soon as he turned like 34, 35, people are like, he's out the door. No, he isn't. He's done fuck all. He's spent like, some of the prime years of his life and career, definitely the prime years of his career, doing nothing, And that can't feel good for him either, Like, you would feel like a parasite, Like, I've said in the past, like, if you're someone like Saraya, or you're someone like Roman Reigns, or you're someone like Primo and Epico, or you're someone like JTG, right? Or you're someone even like Dolph Ziggler, right? Who's just there, you just get paid to do nothing, It must feel bad. You're like, shit, that's who I am, man. I'm an asshole who gets paid to do nothing, And that's not good for anybody. And it sure as shit ain't good for us fans. So as far as I'm concerned, I could give a shit if I see Roman Reigns again. But if I do see him again, which I certainly will, obviously, right? He's going to appear on TV probably like in the next few weeks, to set up the SummerSlam match. If I do see him on my TV, then I would hope that he has the decency to have some matches on free TV. Because think about it. I mean, I know nowadays it's different because a lot of people have Peacock. Almost anyone can afford to get like Peacock for like, I think it's $5 if you sign up for like the free trial or whatever. You can get it for $5 like to watch one pay-per-view, to watch WrestleMania. You know what I mean? Like, I get that. It's not like, I mean, and I'm not trying to judge anybody's financial situations. I know people are struggling. Believe me, motherfuckers. I know that. But like, it's not like it was back in the day. Like back in the day, WrestleMania is like $80. A lot of people can't afford that, period. You know what I mean? A lot of people can't afford $80 to watch Roman Reigns wrestle. So a lot of people wouldn't be able to do that. And that's pretty much what's ruined wrestling and its presentation. But if you're someone that can't afford Peacock or just doesn't have Peacock, and if you're like a kid and your parents just don't want to get Peacock because they don't give a shit about wrestling, right? You're never gonna see Reigns wrestle. And that's the part. When I was a kid, my mom would get me the occasional pay-per-view. Like I'd always get Rumble. Eventually I'd always get Mania. But for the first few years, she's like, WrestleMania. She's like, you just got the Royal Rumble 3 months ago. I'm like, Mom, it's WrestleMania. But like, I wasn't that big of a fan, etc. And like, I was dependent on my mom to order the pay-per-view for me. But for me only, like, she didn't give a shit. Nobody in my family likes wrestling except for me. So like, $30 for your son, hey, it's a good deal, I think. But a lot of people don't have that, motherfuckers. A lot of people don't have the capacity. So on pay-per-views that I didn't even want to get, like, fully loaded, I don't give a shit what happens, But I do give a shit what happens. So the next day on Raw, I'd be very excited because everybody that wrestled on Fully Loaded would be wrestling on Monday night, or if not, they'd be wrestling on SmackDown, right? Everyone was wrestling. The Rock was wrestling for free. Now, if you didn't watch like the Netflix episode of Roman Reigns wrestling Solo Sikoa. You know, when was the last time Roman Reigns wrestled for free? And that's not even free because you have to have Netflix. That's the same shit. But I'm counting that as free because a lot of people have Netflix. Like way more people have Netflix than they have, Peacock, right? I get that. But like, what about that? You know, when was the last time that someone who like doesn't watch the pay-per-views got to see Reigns wrestle? You know, never. The answer is never. And that's not a good idea. You want to expose your main eventers in free TV so people get excited for it. So there you have it. Those are my 2 cents. You can kiss my ass.